Join us today on Beyond the Lair, where we have a conversation with Harlan Kingfisher from Smudge the Blades, a hockey apparel company. He's also a contestant on season 2 of The Bears Lair. Harlan talks about overcoming racism in minor and junior hockey and his quest to break down barriers, elevate youth, and celebrate achievements in sports, while paving a way for athletes and entrepreneurs and fans worldwide. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Lair. We are absolutely thrilled today to have a contestant from season 2, but also a friend, father, uncle, entrepreneur, amazing Harlan Kingfisher. I am your co-host. My name is Gina Jackson Montgomery. I'm a proud member of the Seashell Nation. I'd like to introduce my other co-hosts.
I'm Dean Montgomery. I'm Métis Cree from Northern Saskatchewan.
And very excited to have you here. It's serendipitous because you're a huge hockey fan. And hockey entrepreneur, and we're going to be talking about that. We were upsetted by the Stanley Cup loss last night, and we will get into hockey in a moment. But for those that don't know Harlan Kingfisher of Sturgeon Lake First Nation in Saskatchewan is the founder of Smudge the Blades, a hockey apparel company out of Saskatchewan that pays homage to First Nations hockey culture. A portion of the company's sales goes to helping First Nations youth to buy hockey equipment and pay for hockey registration fees, which we know how expensive those can be. And welcome to our program.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. Super excited you guys reached out to come on the podcast. I'm super excited. Thank you so much.
It is amazing. And please let us, so what we do on our programming is we like to know about you, and it's a great conversation of where you grew up, how you grew up. I know as being a core judge for the Bears Lair and having our TV programming, you exemplify everything that we look for in an entrepreneur: a story, a why, and how you're giving back. So can you please tell our viewers and to our listeners a little bit about you and how you grew up and how you started your company and what your why is?
Oh, for sure. So like you said, I'm from Sturgeon Lake First Nation, Saskatchewan, and Sturgeon Lake's a small community just north of Prince Albert, and it's about 20 minutes north. But saying that, though, it was growing up with my grandparents. My parents ended up splitting up when I was 5 years old, so I, just like a lot of friends of mine, a lot of cousins of mine, we all grew up with the grandparents. So I grew up with my grandparents, and my grandpa was a bus driver, so right away when I was younger, I understood the money situation and about playing hockey, playing sports. So when I was younger, I didn't get to experience hockey till I was a little bit older. And a lot of my cousins and friends I was growing up with, the same with them. We didn't get to experience organized sports until we were a little bit older, like 10, 11 years old. And once we got that opportunity, though, once I found the love of hockey, I was like, you know what? I really like doing this, and this is what I want to do. So my dad kind of got involved. My mom was kind of getting involved when I was growing up. So that was my number one thing I wanted to do, is I wanted to try my best and try and succeed at hockey. And it was tough, though. It was tough. It was just like I said, it was a struggle, right? I was wearing gear from like the pawn shop my dad would buy me, and I was wearing skates that were never sharpened because we couldn't afford to get our skates sharpened even. And when it came time to play in the hockey league in Prince Albert, that was a whole other step, because I was like one of the only First Nation kids playing on a team in Prince Albert, and dealing with racism, dealing with all that kind of stuff. I wasn't expecting leaving my res, So when I got to go to play hockey in Prince Albert, I found I really loved playing hockey, but I also didn't love playing hockey because it was difficult to show up to the rink and trying to bring who I am as a person, right, as an Indigenous kid. And I found myself dealing with that right up until I left to play junior and university hockey. So yeah, so that was really difficult growing up, and it's pretty crazy because I like talking about the Indigenous hockey player, because I was there's this girl who was playing university hockey. Her final paper to finish school, she did a paper on Indigenous hockey players leaving their community. She interviewed 100 players from across Canada, and after she did the analytics and she finished her paper, she shared with us the like what the outcome was. And it's really crazy. It was almost 100% of us had the same outcome, the reason why we left the community, the issues we faced, the racism we dealt with, the failure, getting involved with alcohol and drugs at that stage of our life, and kind of going downhill. But a lot of us came out with it on top. A lot of us worked hard and went to work and found, and for me, myself, starting a clothing brand. And that's what I say about my clothing brand, Smudge Blades. It's you talk about like the iceberg effect, and whenever someone says Smudge Blades, they're like, that's just a hockey clothing brand. But that's 10% of the iceberg. The rest of the 9% below water is the Indigenous hockey player, the Indigenous struggle, the Indigenous resiliency. So I try and pour that out into my clothing brand, whether I share youth wearing my gear, creating designs to share our culture. I do everything with my clothing brand now, and it's been amazing so far. It's been an amazing 3 years.
I love it. And part of your episode is on tonight. And we're very excited. Episode 4. When you were talking, and this will go off, and people will be able to watch episode 4 after this podcast. But you told the core judges a really emotional story. And I think part of the coaching, I believe your coach was Wendy Ham from AFOA, Aboriginal Financial Officers Association, and she's amazing. And part of it is telling your story and your why as well. And we can talk about general racism and what people have went through, but maybe you can tell the story that you told the core judges, because I thought it was very heartwarming, and it really gave a vulnerable lens into who you are, because hockey players, and grown up with hockey all my life, as Dean has been a hockey dad all of his life, put on this really strong front of masculinity and starting to be more vulnerable now and tell their stories. But I know that you would go on your snowmobile, maybe give everyone a sort of an architectural story of a day in your life back then.
Yeah, so when I was younger, like I said, I grew up with my grandparents, and my grandpa, he was a bus driver, so he was our only household income. And my grandma, and there was about 7 of us living in the house at that time. So it was really hard for me when I started wanting to play hockey, wanting to get that opportunity. I found myself like my grandpa. I had the gear. My dad got me skates and hockey sticks and hockey pucks. So when I found the love of the game, I found myself like spending a lot of time outside, just playing hockey by myself. I would stick handle for hours every day, because I knew that when I was 11, 12 years old, it was like it's something I really wanted to do. But I found like at that age, I knew that it was really difficult, because I have had friends and cousins growing up that were trying to play hockey, but they couldn't. And so when I got the opportunity, in my mind, I was like, I'm one of the only kids on my community that's going to be playing organized hockey. And I was literally the only one that was able to start and finish right up until I was 17. So when I started going to practices, and I started getting to higher level of hockey, like you playing the double A's and playing the triple A's, practices are weekly, games are weekly every weekend. And I found like my grandpa sometimes couldn't make it, or my grandma or my grandpa was farming, and I couldn't make it to the city. So I even found myself grabbing my hockey bag and trying to hitchhike to Prince Albert just to make a hockey practice. And it was really difficult, because I get to PA, I asked for people to come pick me up, and I'd have to catch a ride with like friends and relatives back to the reserve, and it'd be like a 6-hour process sometimes. And just going through that struggle, going through that fear, I remember being at the rink sitting in Prince Albert outside, going inside to warm up, and they're kicking me out of the rink, because I was there for so long, and I was waiting for my grandparents to pick me up, but they never would sometimes, because they're too busy, or there's a lot of alcohol isn't within my grandparents too. Like my grandma, she was a daily drinker, so they couldn't make the trips out to Prince Albert as much as I wanted to. So yeah, I found myself finding different ways to get home and hitchhiking back to the reserve, and it was hard. It was a hard struggle, but saying that though, that struggle kind of built who I became. I became this strong person, and I never looked down at anybody, because I know the struggle. I know the issues of that I faced going to school in Prince Albert for a year, wearing like superstore clothing brand clothes, getting teased, getting all that stuff, and wearing hockey equipment, not being afraid to take my gear off in the dressing room because I didn't have the proper gear that everyone else had. So I went through all that, and after when I got a little bit older, and and one big thing is when I started my clothing brand is I want to make sure that the Indigenous youth that are coming up that don't have to face that anymore. So I try my best to help with registration fees, hockey equipment, because I do. It's not just about like playing the gear, like being able to play the game. It's also there's some Indigenous youth that wear 5-year-old hockey gloves, and they get passed down, passed down, passed down, and to get a new set of gloves or a new set of shoulder pads, that's theirs. I know that feeling, so that's the feeling I want to try and keep going. And I see the youth now that I've helped before, and some of them are making it to higher levels of hockey now, Junior A, WHL. So it's really amazing to see, the cycle that I've created, and I hope those kids can carry that on to the next generation.
When you got out of the minor hockey era, so double A's, triple A's, and I looked at your hockey profile. I think you played for OCN, for Opaskwayak Cree Nation. Then you moved on. Was there a time when there was a little bit more acceptance, or was it still an issue when you moved away from home and started playing that high level junior in the Winnipeg League or Alberta?
Yeah, so when I was playing junior hockey, I found myself playing with the Waywood-Kappa Wolverines and the OCN Blizzard. Both are
That's right.
predominant Indigenous community-owned hockey teams.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the players on my team at that time, we were all Indigenous. And I didn't find myself, because we were majority Indigenous players, I didn't find myself dealing with that within a team level, but I did find myself, and all of us in the team, we traveled to almost every community, like Winkler, Dauphin in Manitoba, playing against these teams, and the racism we faced was crazy. We'd show up to the rink, and I remember them having to put nets before we walked out, and there's garbage thrown at us, and just racial slurs, and we battled through that almost every game. And at that time, when I was playing there, we didn't think anything of it. We didn't think anything of what to bring it up to anybody. That was just a norm, right? That was just a norm of playing junior hockey at that level and in those towns. But now, I think you would never see that in this day and age. But back then, it was difficult, definitely, for us to show up at a different hockey rink and deal with it on a daily basis. Yeah.
Did you take comfort in being on a team that was all Indigenous? And
yeah,
was that a
sure,
nice
100%.
change? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really good, because a lot of us that were playing hockey, that I played hockey with in junior, it's crazy. We all come from sort of similar situations. A lot of us grew up with our grandparents. A lot of us grew up in a drinking household. A lot of us dealt with that kind of stuff. So when we all got together, it was really nice to be playing hockey with other Indigenous hockey players. And saying that, though, it did have its ups and downs. It was awesome playing with them, but also, since we all came from that intergenerational trauma DNA from our grandparents, a lot of us came with drinking habits and drug habits. So playing hockey with these guys, we ended up finding ourselves drinking and finding a new love for that kind of stuff. So it was difficult and hard. And for me, for myself, leaving my community at that age, it was I was trying to fit in and and have to get involved with all that kind of stuff too. So.
And so when you left Manitoba League and you went to school, how did that happen? How did that come about?
Yeah, so just like junior, actually, when I was playing, my first year junior, I had, like every probably hockey player that has some sort of skill, we get letters, right? So I got all these letters from junior A teams and WA teams to go try out. So my very first one I wanted to play with was in the BC JHL, was Williams Lake Timberwolves. So I went over to Williams Lake. I was there by myself, traveled all the way to BC, didn't make the team. I got cut. So I was panic mode. I was like, well, that was the one team that I want to play with. Who am I going to? So I'm looking through all my letters. I'm like, what camp? Some camps are passing already done the same weekend. So I'm phoning on the phone. I found a team in Alberta here, Fort Saskatchewan Traders, actually where I live right now. I called in. They said, yeah, come out to the camp. Arrived in Fort Saskatchewan, lit up the camp. I got all these goals, but they wanted me to fight. I wasn't a fighter. I was like 170 or like 165 pounds. It wasn't a fighter. I was scoring goals. So they wanted me to fight and try and play both roles. I couldn't, so they cut me, and I wasted another week of where I could possibly go. So then I'm looking around. I ended up phoning Waywood Capo and going to Wayway. First day, lit up the camp. They signed me. They signed me on the first day. played there for 3 years. So when I ended up going to university, I had no university teams that were looking at me. I was leading goal scorer on my team, but no one was. I didn't get no scholarship offers, so I was again on the phone calling these schools. And my one school, Camrose Vikings, where I was playing with a couple of players on my team from OCN. We're going, so I was like, you know what, let's go try that. I went. There was no guarantee though in university hockey, so I went there as a walk on, made the team, got a little scholarship out of it, and that's how I ended up in Alberta that year.
Amazing. What shifted for you from being a hockey player to wanting to start an apparel and a clothing line? And how did Smudge the Blades? And maybe you can tell for our viewers and our listeners what the ceremony is with Smudge the Blades, because it can be, we have different customs and protocols out here. So number one, what is smudging for our viewers and listeners? And what do hockey players do when you smudge the blades? Because it is quite ceremonial, and I think it'll give a good context as to where the name of your company came from.
Yeah, so I'll start with I'll start with the smudging. So the smudging, you can use like sage, sweetgrass. When I was younger, my grandpa and my mom, my grandpa was a really powerful medicine man, and the smudging ceremony, he would, like, every ceremony you go to in an indigenous community, you smudge you ask for protection, and you light sweetgrass, and yeah, mainly you're asking for protection, you're asking for a safe environment, you're asking for a lot of things that you just ask the creator, and why you're doing the smudging. So when I talk about Smudge the Blades, because I get this asked a lot about, like, what's the clothing brand name? Why is it called Smudge the Blades? There's actually a little story behind why it's called Smudge the Blades. So I'll tell you the story real quick. When I was 18, 17, I was playing Beardy's AA Blackhawks in the playoffs, and it's a 2-game series. So after the first game, I got cross-checked in the back, and I couldn't move at all. I literally couldn't move. I had this huge red. My back was red. It was bruising. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't twist. Or I couldn't do anything. So my mom carried me on her shoulders after the game to the car, and I laid down. I was like, I gotta go see a doctor. Like, she's like, well, you know what? Let me take you to my dad. So my mushum, we'll take you there tonight, and we'll go see him, and we'll see what he can do. And I was like, okay. So I went to James Smith Cree Nation, went to my mushum's house, saw him. Barely got upstairs, and he's like, "Come lay down." And went into his bedroom, and he started performing medicine on my back. And at that time, when I was 17, I was really skeptical of, like, my mom would be telling me stories about his ceremonies and his sweat and everything, and what he would see and what he would hear in there. And I was really kind of skeptical. So I was like, okay. I went to my mushroom. I heard him, like, spit on his hands, like, rub my back, my back's all tingly, and then he's like, he tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, yeah, you'll be good to play tomorrow. And I was like, okay, Michelle. I'm like, thank you. When you wake up, just let me know, and we'll come to the game tomorrow. I'm like, okay. So I get up, I barely walk out of there. I told my mom, I was like, Michelle, I'm going to play tomorrow, but, like, they're just crazy. I get sort of laughing about it, right? So anyways, we go back to my mom's house, wake up in the morning, and I could literally, I had zero pain. It was the most craziest thing I've ever experienced. And I sat up, I twisted my back, I bent down, like, I feel nothing. I feel a little pain just on surface layer of my back, but, like, that pain like, crippled me. I didn't feel it anymore. So I was like, holy crap. So I told my mom. She's like, let's go visit him. So I went back to my mushroom's house, and I was like, I'm gonna play tonight, mushroom. Like, it's all good. So at that time, he sat me down. He's like, that's where he kind of explained smudging and what I should do. And he's like, yeah, smudge your gear, ask for protection before every game. Smudge your hockey equipment. And then he said, smudge your sticks, smudge your hockey skates, smudge the blades. And he started laughing. So I was like, oh, okay. So that stuck with me for this whole time. Is smudging my gear. So yeah. So since then, I've been smudging my gears, asking for protection, because I know how powerful it is, and I believed it now, right? Since that day onwards. So it passed on to myself and to my sons when they play hockey, to my daughters when they dance. I smudge their dance costume, I smudge their feet, I smudge everything. So it's been, and it's been really awesome and working for me. And so when I created my clothing brand, I wanted that to be kind of a memory of my mushroom and smudge blades. Yeah, so and people, when they talk about smudging, I get a lot of photos sent to me now, and they send little stories, and they're like, yeah, we smudge our gear too. We smudge our skates. We smudge our hockey sticks before every game. So seeing that with other people that relating to that, it's been awesome. It's been awesome to see.
How it's been, and that's an amazing story, and this probably leads into the next question. Is you've been on CBC Hockey Night in Canada, right? You have a incredible following. Um, you're savvy at social media. Like, how long did that take to come about from the time where you kind of stopped playing, young high level hockey to becoming, a parent, and then where you're this guy who everyone knows?
Yeah, so when I was thinking about starting my clothing brand, before I launched it, there was obviously COVID hit, right? So when COVID happened, everything got shut down. The powwows, the hockey tournaments, and in the Indigenous community, I would say like we have powwows in the summer, and we got these res hockey tournaments in the winter or the springtime. So when all that stuff got canceled, I saw on my social media, and I was like, "Hey, everybody!" Everyone was sad. Everyone was like, "There's nothing's happening." They missed these hockey tournaments, and so at that time, I was thinking. I had this idea of this clothing brand in the back of my head forever, and I was like, you know what? Like this
And
might be the time to
and
launch it.
Harlan,
So, yeah,
what year was that? Do you mind if I ask?
yeah,
When
that
that
was
was?
in 2020, at the very end of 2020. So
Okay.
basically, about November is when I launched my clothing brand.
Yep.
November, I think it was like November 20th or something. I actually launched it and went online.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so when that was happening, I was like, this might be a good time. So I started sending photos to friends, big hockey players. Be like, hey, would you guys wear this? Like, is this funny? Would you guys do all this? And like an Indigenous, like any business owner, like, like I got a lot of feedback. I got a lot of that would never work. Like it's a dumb idea. All this kind of stuff too came with it. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try it out. So I built a website on Shopify. Kind of understood how to. I didn't really understand how to sell and like how to get the gear and press and ship. And I didn't really understand. That came really quick within a 2 week period. I found a business that was gonna help me get off the ground, and they did that already. So I was like, you know what? Let's just try this out and see what happens. So when I launched it, before I actually launched on Facebook and Instagram, I started doing my research. I started seeing clothing brands and other Indigenous clothing brands, other sporting brands, what they were posting on social media, like Facebook and Instagram. When I started seeing that, I started seeing like some of them with 1 like or 2 likes or 3 likes. Like these are big clothing brands that were only getting zero. Like people were looking at them, and I was like, well, what's happening? So I started looking more, doing more research, and then I found the Indigenous portion of it, of Indigenous clothing brands, of how they were doing it. And I was like, okay. Then I started searching how other clothing brands that I saw that were getting a lot of shares, a lot of likes. I was like, okay. So I had this idea of like, you know what? When I sell something, instead of just posting a photo of it, just a T-shirt, nobody wearing it, I'm gonna do it the best I can and ask for people, hey, send me a photo if you don't mind. I'll post to social media, and I'll do a little write up on where you're from, like the hockey player, who you are, wearing my gear. And once I started doing that, it just blew up because I never really knew people like I never knew the amount of shares people would get and the amount of traction it would get. And then I started seeing people that were like celebrities like Andrew Ference, NHL player, buying gear. Biff Naked bought gear. Like all these crazy people were buying gear, and I didn't realize, even because they use their real names on the website. And like Cody Lightning from Smoke Signals bought gear, and I was like, what? And then I was like, okay, so that was first within the first month. I had all this crazy social media people like from everywhere buying my stuff, and then I started seeing how. Then I started thinking, okay, how can I grow it more since the ball was rolling? Then I started saying, you know what? I'm going to do a marketing campaign where I just give free gear to all these big, like everybody, every big hockey player I know, every Indigenous influencer I know, everything. So I messaged them all, and the feedback I got after messaging them, I was like, oh, they're actually messaging me back and want to be a part of it and want to support. So I spent a couple $100 sending out hoodies and T-shirts, and when they posted, that's when it really took off, and I was like. I got something crazy here at CTV News within a month in November. I think they reached out in November. We did an interview in December. Then it just snowballed from there. Like hit every big news article and then the NHL, and it's been crazy since then. And I still keep in touch with everybody. I'm still doing things on CTV, and now I'm on TikTok. TikTok was never a thing a couple of years ago, and when that happened, I was like, you know what? Everyone's going to TikTok. I don't even have a TikTok. I had to do the same thing. I just started an account on TikTok, researched clothing brands and businesses and how to post and algorithms, and I did my homework. And once I started posting, my first post had over 100,000 views.
Wow.
The type of red hockey players, and you know what I mean. So type of reverse hockey players, funny, something funny, people, a niche that no one's doing on TikTok. There it is again. So yeah, I've been doing TikTok for almost a year and a half, 2 years now, and been featured on TikTok's Indigenous Voice this month. So it's been awesome and crazy.
I love it. And can you maybe explain some of the sayings that are on it? So smudge the blades. Thank you for that definition for sure. But words that we used to say as Indigenous and in non-Indigenous people when we were in school, way before you were born, but in the 80s, was deadly.
Yeah.
Deadly. That's a good one. And then some of the sayings that you have that are humor amongst Indigenous people that other people may not really understand the meanings, and how you came up with some of your designs. Do you do all the designs, or do you get other people to assist you? What's your process?
Yeah, so like say for example, like a design like Ever Stick Dangles. Like it's one of my things, one of my designs, one of my biggest sellers as well. And so when I go through a logo process or like a design process that I want to try and like bring a new design in, it's basically like what I do is I think of like indigenous things, like you said, one of my designs is drop the glove, Skoden. Yes, Skoden, everyone knows Skoden, and drop the
Godin.
glove, right? And
Love it. Yeah.
yeah, ever stick dangle is like what's like ever stick just means another term for like really awesome, and then just dangles, right? And Turtle Island hockey or just simple sayings like hockey is good medicine. It just people can relate to within the indigenous culture, but also non-indigenous. And um, my whole process is I'll think of a design, and I still do the same thing. I'll do a design. I'll send it to a couple of friends who play hockey or relatives, my sister or my wife would be like, what do you think of this design? Like I'll tweak it a little bit, and sometimes they make the website. Sometimes they're just kind of sitting on the site because I wanna do some more work at those. And it's really awesome because I do been getting a lot of emails for junior A teams that want to collaborate this year for before the next hockey season. So I'm working on funny designs for them right now. And Laurent Ice Wolves, I'm working with them. I'm working with the Prince Albert Raiders again, and just kind of developing some designs and going back and forth with management right now. Try and make some big. It's all about making big sales. Getting my clothing brand out there, and yeah, seeing it all over Canada again. So it's awesome right now.
So are you doing all wholesale now? You have some retail happening in some rinks and such, or
Uh, Yeah, so right now, this year I've been getting more. So when I first started my clothing brand, my first year, so basically the year of 2021, I had my gear in about like 30 stores across Canada
Mhm.
because just people wanted it. People wanted to get it. People wanted it in their store, which was really awesome. It was really difficult though, like to try and manage all that. Never did that before.
Mhm.
My second year, it kind of slowed down, but my second year, I got busy in my life, so I took my clothing brand was still doing good, but I couldn't really focus on it the way I wanted to in my first year. So my third year now, this year when I took my everything back, I'm doing all the gear, I'm doing all the designs, I'm doing everything. I'm being more, I guess, being more vocal with people with clothing brands or with stores again. And a lot of stores are reaching out to me now because of TikTok and because of Bears Lair, because of other like everything that I've been on so far this year, and it's really really awesome. I'm feeling this new fire within my clothing brand again, and getting it out there, and I'm reaching out to hockey teams now, and they want my gear, so it's really awesome to see again for the third year.
Is there anything beyond clothing apparel in the future, do you think?
I think through Smudge of Blades, I've always get asked about like doing other things. I have some big plans, but I think not through Smudge of Blades, not through hockey apparel. It might be something another route that I want to try, and just to see some ideas that I thought were not going to be very good, but reached out to some people, and it's a really really awesome idea. So that's my next plan. I think people ask me, Smudge of Blades should do like all the sports. I did a couple of baseball designs last year. I took them off my website though, when winter hit. So yeah, people are asking me about baseball designs, golf designs. So it's just how much work I want to put into it. Right now, it's a really awesome side. I guess it's a side hustle. It's not huge, but I like it small and I like it very people wanting it more. So that's yeah.
I think that's one of the
Oh
biggest
yeah.
challenges for entrepreneurs is scaling up effectively, because as entrepreneurs ourselves, you spend so much time working in your business instead of on your business.
Mhm.
And you really have to find the who to the how. Who's going to help me because I know how to do this, but who's going to move me to the next level? And eventually your plan B becomes your plan A because it supersedes everything that you're doing. But we were talking to Chief Willie and talking to Dave Tuckerow. It really is about balance. And you're a father of four.
Yeah, father of
Maybe
four.
how old are your kids?
Yeah, so my oldest is 16, who's trying to text me right now with his buddies. And I got a 13, 11-year-old daughter, and my 7-year-old is filming right now in the UK. So he's busy right now with my wife. They're out in the UK right now. So we're a busy family and trying to manage, my work schedule plus my clothing brand and this new awesome speaking youth engagement conferences I've been attending this year have been awesome and amazing. So I love doing that too. So I got to try and manage it all for sure.
Can you tell us more about that? What is that? Speaking
Yeah.
engagement with youth. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of these communities across Canada, a lot of Indigenous communities, they have youth conferences. And I think I went to about 10 or 11 now this year. And it's basically, a youth engagement conference where the community invites people to come and speak to the youth just to show them that, there is life outside of the community and people that have done it, and just to come bring some positive to some of these communities. Because a lot of these communities that I visited so far, some of them are really really struggling to keep their youth just in school, struggling to keep their youth from doing bad stuff. So it's really awesome to see youth come there, listen, and then after you do the talk and after you speak, and I get messages from youth on my TikTok being like, I saw you at the conference, like I changed I want to go to school. And so seeing the positive, like if I can change one kid at these conferences, like that's what it's all about, just to try and help those you see that, hey, there's a future and you can walk through that door even if it's by yourself. So that's what I like doing today.
No, 100%. As you know, through the Bears Lair, and when you have to really love what you do, and have it a passion, and if it can make a profit, that's perfect. And we've done the Bears Lair, a subsidiary to the Bears Lair. We have kids, youth entrepreneur dream camps, where we teach entrepreneurism to kids in communities, and it's non-trauma informed education where we can go in and not try to solve a problem, but actually try to provide some hope and opportunity through technology or entrepreneurism or sport or performance and visual arts and all the different ways that we can be entrepreneurs without leaving our community or grow out of it as well. But creating a show like the Bears Lair was very important to us because our passion is entrepreneurs and we love the stories. We recognize the adversity and that we go through as whatever different level we are at, whether it's fashion or culinary or what have you. Tell us a little bit about your experience on the Bears Lair and the excitement you have with your show going national tonight, and what you thought about it.
Yeah, so I when I like any of the production was just like 10 out of 10, like seeing how big it was and how much work you guys put into it. Like I know there was tons of work behind the scenes for you guys to bring all that stuff in, get just how all the I's were, like all the T's were crossed and I's were dotted when we were there. It was amazing to see. And just when I was there, speaking with other Indigenous entrepreneurs that were there and you guys, and just seeing how passionate everybody was and of their business, of the people they want to help, or just everything in that aspect. It was that really just filled my heart. I was so proud to even be there with that group and talking to everybody after, and just kind of spending time with them while we were there. They were everyone was so supportive. That's something when I first got into entrepreneurship, I didn't think was up. I didn't think was out there. I thought it was more of a competition when I was getting into it. But now, 3 years later, I look at all these Indigenous business owners. It's more of like collaboration. Like everyone wants everyone to succeed. Everybody's trying to help each other, and that's what I really appreciate about the show, is going there, speak to everybody, and then to this day, I'm still talking to people that I met on the show about future plans and everything like that. So.
Yeah, we specifically and strategically wanted non-competitive businesses or that provided goods or services so that we could put that opportunity of collaboration and synergizing businesses together. And you were here a week prior to us actual filming. And for all of our listeners and viewers, it is a 16-hour day. What you see in a 22-minute episode is hours and hours of collaboration with the crew and just getting everything organized. But you had a week beforehand spending time with the entrepreneurs. And can you tell us a little bit about that in Vancouver?
Yeah, it was really really like when we first got there and we got on the WhatsApp and everyone was talking to each other, like right away we were like, we gotta go for dinner, we gotta go for like coffees and just to meet each other. And that was what I took out of this whole Bears Lair event when I was there. It's just getting up in the morning, going for breakfast with people I didn't know, people I never met before, just talking about just life and how they started their business and how they got to where they were at, and going to dinners with them, going to shows. Everybody went to a powwow when we were there, like just to like enjoy our culture. Everyone was there for the same reason, but also everyone was experiencing the same that I thought. Like everyone was enjoying Vancouver and just enjoying meeting each other, talking to each other, and that's all I can ask for is like all these people from across Canada coming in. The amount of people, the amount of fun we had. We had a lot of fun. I guess let's put it that way. We had fun when we were there.
Nice.
And would you recommend, if we were to have a season 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, entrepreneurs to apply for being on the TV show?
100%. Every time since I've been on the show, the moment I hear somebody even has a business, I'm like, hey, you got Bears Lair. If they're gonna come with next season, you got to do that 100%. And I kind of explain the journey and when my episode was coming out. So definitely a must if you're an Indigenous business. Doesn't matter how small you are, how big you are. I say apply, and you never know what can happen. How cool it's been this past month, just seeing yourself on TV tonight. It's gonna be crazy. So
Oh, we can't wait for
definitely.
everyone to see you tonight.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So you called Smudge Blades a side hustle, but I mean, and I think it's really cool that you keep it unique, right? And you're not making mass. But do you have other plans, other goals where you want to go with it, or is it
Yeah.
just something
What do
you
you do
keep on?
full time? What's your full hustle?
So my full-time job, I've been doing it for 14 years. I'm a power engineer. So I work in a refinery up here in Alberta. I'm in operations. So I've been doing it for 14 years. When I got into the trade, I never thought like I really enjoy it that long, but it's been 14 years and I really enjoy what I do. So that's why I like Smudge Blades as a side hustle, because I don't want to give up what I created and how I built my family, my house, my car. Like I really enjoy my full time job, but also Smudge the Blades. I've had the opportunity to go big. I've had the opportunity to possibly get into an entire pro hockey, like that whole organization, and that was the biggest I could possibly get it. And when I met with the people I met with like their management team and trying to get my gear in there, it was something that I have never experienced before, meeting with people like that. And it was kind of polar opposite of what I was going to expect and how I want to. So when I met with people like that, I said, that's the highest I can get. But clothing brand wise, like manufacturing and getting into these big stores, I don't mean I it kind of I don't think I want. I don't think I would have wanted that. I don't think it would have put my clothing brand in a good spot. So I chose to come back and just do everything on my own at a pace that I want to do it at. And I'm still reaching out to. I'm still in the NHL. I'm still in the WHL, all this hockey stuff, and I still am getting emails. I'll be in stores, more stores this year, just from people wanting to have my clothing brand in their stores. So I think that's the level I want to keep it at, and I think keeping it at that level, it just creates more supply or
Yeah,
demand for what I want for
I think, and
myself.
I think you keep the soul of the brand, right?
100%.
It's just super cool.
No,
Yeah.
and you're a celebrity. You are a celebrity, and it's not just created by being on social media or being on a TV show, but it's celebrities within being a celebrity and a mentor within your own community. And I think keeping it small and organic like you have it right now, people can
Mhm.
really look up to that brand and yourself and your story as something that's attainable, opposed to taking a really good idea and mass producing it to a Canadian Tire or a Costco or something like that. It really loses the authenticity about it. And I think that's one thing that I really love and respect and admire about who you are, for sure. Who are your mentors? Who do you look up to?
Honestly, when I look into like the social media world, or the business world, like nobody's doing it the way I'm doing it, and I really find myself looking at when I look at like mentorship. Yeah, I looked at just the clothing brand, how they were doing it. That was just the visually on a website of how they're doing it. I never really seen or met any other entrepreneurs before I wanted to go on my own journey that were wanting to drive me to be like them. I always wanted to, when I first started this, and to where I'm at now is I'm doing it my way, and my way is working, and everyone's coming behind me now trying to copy me, which is awesome, which is really really awesome. But my kids are not really mentors, but I think my kids, my family is my reason, and right now I love doing it for them. I love creating my own path with my clothing brand, with my content creation, with everything. So I really, yeah, it's me just going 100% all the time.
Apart from, of course, you're most proud of your family, but what are you most proud of what you've accomplished with the business so far?
Yeah, I think my most proudest moment is, I always said like I never made it to the NHL on skates, but like working with my hometown team that I've been cheering for so many years, getting a chance to work with the Edmonton Oilers every year. I think that was my hugest like that. That's where I wanted to get is work with the NHL team, and on top of that, I think just the amount of businesses and amount of people wanting to just know who I am. Like like, people know my name now. And I think that's the hugest part of it. And it's through social media or like all the news articles. I'm going to be on Bears Lair, so I always talk about everything like that. And yeah, I think that's it. I'm proud of who I am and kind of how I got here, and
I
for
think that's
sure.
amazing, and I think you putting hockey on the forefront and talking about the barriers that we have as not just Indigenous communities but marginalized communities, low income families that don't have the opportunity to for their kids to participate in hockey. Fees are expensive, tournaments are
Yeah,
expensive, equipment is expensive, and I think what you've really done is open eyes to organizations that want to support something like this. And I know your organization supports registration fees and hockey fees and providing equipment, especially with your story about there's so many barriers and triggers as an entrepreneur, as an Indigenous people, period, where I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. I can't afford it. And I think you're really putting that to the forefront of a tough barrier in conversation and allowing people to notice this now. And how can people give to your organization to support kids in sport and hockey?
yeah. So I haven't been able to set up a non for profit. So I kind of looked into it, but if anybody wants to help and support like my cause, my clothing brand, and what we're doing over here, they could definitely just email me if they want any information at hkingfisher@hotmail.com. I do get a lot of messages on my social media too, so you can message me on Instagram or Facebook because I'm always looking for more help because there is a lot of Indigenous youth and parents that have been emailing me about sponsorship, everything. So I'm always looking through emails. I'm always trying to gauge. It's always hard because you can't help everybody, and I wish I could. I wish I could help every single hockey player that messaged me, but I try to go through the motions, try to see all the messages, and try and pick some kids. So it's really, yeah, seeing other organizations do that now. Because back when I first started my clothing brand, there wasn't any. It's been awesome. So
I think it's important. And we're with our kids camp, we're getting society. We can talk about this after as well, getting society status and applying for not for a charity status so that we can give back to community as well. But I think any organizations that want to support Indigenous youth in hockey and upcoming athletes can contact you because it can run that stream through their organization and you can put the players with the players per se, pardon the pun. But
mhm.
so proud of you and everything that you've done. And I can't wait till Canada, North America gets to see you on TV tonight and how well you are and get a taste and see who you are as a person because I just think you're so incredible. And so many entrepreneurs, when have their plan A. They all have full-time jobs and that pays the mortgage, that pays the rent, that pays for kids, that pays what have you. And you have your plan B and you've had the success on the side of your desk the way that you have had and you've just let it grow organically. I think you are a huge mentor and aspiration to a lot of youth to a lot of business owners, and I hope that people follow your story on social media, your story on the Bears Lair, and go into to buy some items on Smudge the Blades. I know that Dean and I were at a conference the other day, and I saw someone wearing something, and I own this. It says "Go smudge yourself," and then somebody came up with Smudge the Blades, a hoodie, and they stood by each other and took a picture, and I was just like, it made me almost in tears because you're going nationwide, and they were just so proud to be wearing your apparel. So congratulations on all of your successes. Is there one little tidbit of advice that you would like to give our entrepreneurs that are listening, or our listeners, about your business, about being in business?
Yeah, and like I said, in previous podcasts, I would just say us as Indigenous people are a really shy population. We're really shy to try to do anything. But if you have a plan, you have an idea, yeah, just don't be afraid and just do it, because you never know what the outcome will be. And when I say that, the Indigenous community is supportive. I'm going to say it again. Like the Indigenous community supports their own. And now within the outside of the Indigenous community, everybody wants to be a part of the Indigenous business. So people are reaching out to do collaborations that are non-Indigenous owned businesses. So great time is the time is now. Start a business, go for it. I think it's going to be amazing what you'll see and what the outcome will be.
Perfect.
You are phenomenal, Harlan Kingfisher. And by the time this podcast goes, people are going to see that, and we can't wait to follow your journey. So go to Smudge the Blades. How can people buy your apparel, and how can people find you?
Yeah, they can go to www.smudgetheblades.com, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and my link for my website is on all the platforms. So go check it out, buy yourself some deadly gear, and hopefully see you guys wearing it in the near future.
Awesome.
Thanks, Harlan.
Thanks, Harlan. Great to have you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Lair. Please follow us, download this episode, and follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok.